which are in turn going to be used to evaluate the responses from candidates. So there are different opinions on how to do that. So we can discuss that in detail and finalize how we want to store the data so that the team that does the evaluation, they can easily use it and do the evaluation. And apart from this, if there are any other questions, we can discuss those as well. All right. Yeah, okay. So first, I think we can get started with the format. So with regards to the format, let's first agree on the basic format that is needed. That is this is the minimum required set of columns that are needed to provide the most minimal functionalities in the chatbot. All right. So what I will do is I'll open a spreadsheet and then I'll share the screen so that everybody can see it. Just a moment. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. So the most essential columns that we need, definitely we need to know what is the job position. Okay. Yeah, if you're on the call, can you please let, okay, I have the control, so I can do that. Just a moment. Yeah. All right. So we need the job position. So this is going to tell the title, right, of the job for which the candidate wants to prepare. All right. So we need to know this. And then, yeah, then we need the question. Okay. So this is needed. And then we need answer. Now, so this is clear with everybody, right? So in all the data that you collected, you have this information, right? So now these are the minimal set of columns that we need to give to task 4. Perhaps Vishnu or anybody from task 4 can jump in at any point. And if you have any additional inputs, please feel free to suggest those. All right. Now, in team one, there are, I think you're working on customer service representative. So I believe you have a single job position. Am I right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So team one. Okay. Whereas if we look at team 2, I believe they have more than 25 different job positions, right, Steven? So,
Majority of them are sales and a marketing manager.
okay, sales and marketing manager. Okay. Then for team 3, they have few roles that are based on, yeah, 3, I believe, right? Can somebody please, yeah, provide the details?
Yes, we have 3. I think the nurses aid, the
nursing assistant, home and health,
nursing assistant,
care,
and I think
medical assistant.
Okay, all right. So I'll just put +2, all right? So
okay.
So these are the different options that are there for each team. Okay. Now, in terms of the question answer, this is clear for everybody. Now comes the additional columns that would be useful for the bot, okay, in order to chart the flow of the interview. So unlike exams where we are given a list of, let's say, 50 or 100 questions which we need to provide answers, which can be in any random order, interviews usually follow a logical structure. So that is what we want here: interview phase or stage, or however you want to name it. Okay, so all right. So now these are the essential ones. All right. And interview phase, this is required in order to chart the appropriate structure. Okay, we might have, let's say, 100 questions for, let's say, customer service representative. Now, during the interview, we cannot ask each and every 100 question to the candidate. Some questions will be picked from that and asked. So now, depending on the interview phases that are available for this job position, the bot will pick specific number of questions from each phase, and then it would structure it. So I think we would need a metadata, right, which would tell the logical order. Okay, I think that's a natural uh, deduction we can make from that. That is, we need to know what's the sequence. Number one is this particular phase. Number two is this phase, and so on. Okay. So we need to store this metadata somewhere. All right. That would not be part of this data that you collect, because that is going to be just a master information. It's not going to change for each, let's say, each of the question. It's going to probably change based on job position. So that can be a single page document, which can tell what's the sequence of the different phases identified for each job position. All right. So this is for that. And then, okay. Vamsi is trying to join, but he's having network issues, due to which he's not able to join. Okay. Now, after this, the details that we need, they are rating. Okay. So now, now this is going to help the evaluation component of the bot. And if we have multiple answers for a question, which range from, say, good answer to bad answer, you could have multiple versions, then those multiple answers can be given to the bot to understand what they are. This is good, this is bad, this is very bad. So how you want to do this? It could be a scale from 1 to 5, or it could be categorical values. Okay, you could have three-way values, or like good, average, poor. All right. So again, this is something that we can discuss now, and we can, yeah. Yes, Arthur, you have a question?
Hello, yes. So I have a question regarding the rating, actually more about the questions relating to the rating. So um, I I think this is a common occurrence that generally we have some questions that have multiple answers. Some of them might be even more than uh, like five or more. And basically, in those questions that have multiple answers that we've collected, they might have like a range between 1 to 5. So the bot would understand for that particular question what would be the good or bad. But what happens if we have only one answer, for example, if we don't have like a bad or the good example of it?
Okay, yeah, that's a valid point. I think that's where Vamsi had another point, I believe. Vamsi, you're on the call, right? Okay, I think there are two ways this can happen. The rating can happen based on examples, or it can happen based on some parameters that we can look for in the answer. Okay, so if you have only one answer that you got, that's fine. But then if we can capture for the given question, what are the different aspects the candidate needs to cover in order to consider that as a valid answer. So that could be another way. So instead of having multiple answers for a question and giving a rating for the answer, what we could also do is we could have another column which would say what are the different aspects that need to be provided by the candidate in the answer. So that is another option. But then that would be used by the LLM in a qualitative way because we are going to rely on the LLM to interpret those aspects accurately and then make a comparison to the answer that is given by the candidate, and based on that provide a subjective evaluation. Okay, that is another option. So what does everybody think? I think you can share your opinions. I mean, this is all like based on your inputs only. So please
Hello?
feel free to jump in. Yes, Vamshi.
Hello,
Yes.
this is Stephen.
Yes, Steven.
My thoughts are it's just so we have so what we suffer from in team 2 is that we have a lot of good answers. And so yeah, Vamsi, we can't hear you. Yeah, so we have a lot of good answers, but we don't have many bad answers. So that's what we that's what that's
Okay.
a problem. But
Can
also
you hear
like
me now?
yeah, yes, Vamsi. Do you want to? I'll let Vamsi go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Okay. Steven, I think you can continue. So I'll just message
Yeah.
Vamsi. Yeah.
So we can hear you, Vamsi, but you don't think you can hear us. But yeah, it's kind of hard to really decide like what is the difference between 4 and a 5, let's just say. I think I would find it easier probably to just go for the three ratings because unless we have some kind of example of like, hey, what does a 4 look like or what does a 5 look like? It's right now I'm just kind of like I'm not exactly sure, and so if that would be I can go with 1 to 5, but if like we kind of come up together like so a 4 would kind of be like this or like maybe even an example, if we could find one, that'd be at least we can kind of look to that as, oh, okay, this looks like a 4, this looks like a 5. I don't know what your thoughts
Okay.
are.
Okay.
As
Yeah,
in
it
like,
does
so
make
they're
sense.
like, so there's like for instance, there's really wordy answers, and then there's like answers that are more succinct and to the point. So we may want to say the long one is 4 and the short one is 5 because we want it to be succinct, for instance, and not like overly verbose.
Okay.
I mean
Okay.
that's
All
one
right.
thought I had.
Okay.
I don't know.
What does everyone else think about what Steven said?
Yeah, I do agree with Stevie in terms of the categorical values. To just if you're going with the 1 to 5, just add in too much complexity in it. It will be hard to categorize it in terms of 1 to 5. think we just need to figure out what constitutes good, average, poor. Just going back to what you talk about the length of the answer. That could also be one of the features. So, for example, if it's like overly short, that, for example, might not be a great answer. But also there's normally a specific way of answering questions. I don't know if you're all familiar of STAR, so where you're actually giving a story. So the situation, particular situation, what the action was, and the result. So I think being able to have or to fit the model with the structure of how things or of how an answer can be could be ideally be a way of being able to evaluate the quality of an answer being given by a candidate.
Okay. Okay. I think it's a valid point. Arthur has some input, I believe. Arthur?
Yes. So now when I'm thinking about this, generally the rating of a question would be quite subjective in terms of which one would be good or bad, depending on the position overall. But we might be able to maybe give a variation on the general. How would you say this? How generally accepted questions are in the interview. For example, if it's like the tone is the correct tone, like if it's a not all like overly confident or actually the confident one or so on and so forth. So maybe like in general terms, it would be easier to evaluate it because for some specific roles, one answer could be acceptable, but for the other one, it could not be as acceptable for specific criteria.
Okay. Okay. One challenge, I would say, with regards to using the tone is that currently we are going to process based on the text. Even though we allow the candidate to use voice, the processing is going to be done entirely based on text. So we are not building any features that are extracted from the audio. So we are not going to pick like how loud is the voice and how confident is it sounding. Okay.
I meant more of like a sentiment based
Okay.
thing. So
Okay. Okay. Okay.
like is it
Sentiment based on the semantics, right?
yes, like does it sound professional or does it sound a bit too much like there's slang and stuff like this? Obviously, like slang, for example, probably wouldn't be really accepted in an interview and stuff like this.
Okay. All right. Any other inputs? Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Stephen and Liz. Again, I put qualities of answer here. I mean, this is not something that I want to add as a column, but I'm just capturing what we are talking. Yes, Vishnu. Vishnu, you can unmute.
Yes,
and
am I audible?
Yeah.
So coming to the rating of the answer, we can have two of them. I think Abhishek has mentioned in the chat as well. One thing is we can use the LLM. We can directly ask the LLM to rate the answer. Like we can give it a prompt like to rate the good, average, and poor. We can give it as Liz and Arthur mentioned, we can use the semantic as well as the length of the input as a prompt in that, so that the LLM can rate the answer. Or we can use the other approach, where we can extract entities from the answer, and if all of the entities are satisfied, we can like rate that answer. That is a second approach, but I think the first approach may be a good one.
Okay. Okay. So I think okay, what Abhishek is saying is, can qualities of answer be computed and used by the LLM runtime instead of collecting it beforehand? Okay. Again, I think I can ask for everybody's input on this, because what I think is certain aspects may need to be gathered from the question, from the perspective from which we are asking the question. Do we expect short answer, or do we expect a story kind of an answer? And so that aspect, I think, can be determined based on the question. But again, since you have seen the different questions, you might have a better idea on how the answer should be because you have seen the answers as well. So what does everybody think? Can we follow the approach that Abhishek is saying? That is, instead of collecting the qualities of the answer for each question, or rather, instead of describing the quality for each question, can we give a general guideline? Can we create a general guideline for the LLM to do the evaluation? And it is something that's going to be done based on prompts, all right? It may be based on some computations, but then again, I would prefer that we use an LLM agent to do that. So we make the LLM agent do whatever we want it to do, rather than hand computing everything from the answer. Yeah, Vishnu.
Yes, but actually we can use that approach, and we can add even more context to that, like adding if you have a question, we have a good answer and the best answer for that. So we can give it as an example in the prompt, so that it can categorize it as good, average, and poor. That may be another approach. Just adding a context to the prompt.
Okay, all right. So you would still want a couple of examples in the form of good, average, poor, or good and poor for the answers, right? That is, you want a couple of variations of
Yes.
answers for each question,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Okay. And if it is not there, if let's say they are able to only get a single answer, all right? So would you still be able to do the evaluation?
Yeah, we can completely depend on the LLM and based on the
Okay.
prompt. Or
Okay.
the other approach I mentioned, like extracting the wanted entities in the answer. If we get all of the entities,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
that is the answer is satisfied, then we can rate it
Okay. Can I say rubric?
based on the entities.
Okay. So
Yep.
So rubric will be basically, this is the aspects. All right. So this, I'll mark it as red because this is not a column. All right. So what about this one, rubric? Is this something that's possible for each of the questions? What does everybody think?
Hey, Vamsi here.
Yeah, Vamsi.
Well, I apologize for joining late due to network issues. I kind of joined like 15 minutes back.
No worries.
Yeah. So when we talk about the aspects that need to be covered in the answer of a question, so don't you think the row number 7 is doing that? Is it not what we are collecting?
Okay, in row number 7, we talked about what are the qualities that we expect in the answer in terms of the length of the answer, or like how long it is, and in terms of the sentiment of it, that is from the semantics, okay, from the words alone. We want to gauge whether it is confident, professional, or any other qualities. That is okay. That is what do you call it? That's one aspect of the answer. Okay, but then there would be other aspects of the answer that relate to the question, because some questions may need to, let's say, if we are given a let's say a scenario based question, or let's say we are asked yeah, let's take a scenario based question. So
Yeah.
it needs to cover, let's say the person has to acknowledge the downsides of the problem and then suggest solutions to the problem. So those will be the other aspects, because those really depend on the question. Because let's say that varies from a question, scenario based question, to, let's say, introduce yourself, because there you wouldn't have that, right?
Yeah.
So
Typically, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but typically in scenario-based questions, what see again in this case, what we typically look at is how is the structuring his or her answer. Okay, for example, if I say, give me a situation where you have handled the most critical, uncooperative patient. Example for a nurse, right? So in that case, how the whole response is being structured. Okay, first, what did she do, or what did he do, and how did what kind of patient he or she was, and what was the problem basically, right, to handle that patient. So why he or she was behaving like that, and the whole structure, and that too in a very crisp way.
Right. So the person needs to tell that this
Hmm.
is the problem that I encountered,
Hmm.
and this is how I solved it, right?
This is how I solved, and typically, yeah, you can say that it is that there is question and answer kind of thing. In a scenario, what happens is there would be some support system where he would be required. How did he call for the support system, right? For example, it could be help of another person, or it could be immediately the person has to be to calm down the person. They may give some kind of injection or some kind of medicine which they will do, right. So some kind of how quickly he could get the support system. So there will be certain I'll tell you, typically for these kind of things, they'll have some SOPs, standard operating procedures. So did they follow standard operating procedures, or is what it was more a what do you call spurious response, or it's more reactive, or it's more responsive. So that's also we need to see.
Okay. So again, I think that is what rubric encompasses, right? So the interviewer would have a certain expectation that needs to be met by the candidate in order to say that's a good answer. So again, that will vary from question to question.
Absolutely, it will vary.
Yeah.
Completely,
Yeah.
it will vary, right?
Yeah. So
And just my curious question: will LLMs will have that kind of intelligence to figure out whether these aspects are being covered, or
yeah.
okay.
Yes, if we could give, that
Hmm.
is, validate the following text
Hmm.
and give me a JSON output or whatever, right? I mean, however you want to structure it, saying uh, if that below statement satisfies or contains
Hmm.
these aspects, and you could say problem statement,
Hmm.
solution, following a standard operating procedure, right? If you give those, the LLM would give you a JSON output saying, okay, this is true, this is false, this is true, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I know ChatGPT can do it, 3.5 can do it. It will be a challenge with Google Palm or
That's exactly what
other
my
things.
reference also was. Yeah.
That's true. That's okay. That is, see, I think as part of this project, what we are doing is we are not trying to build the product. We are trying to build a prototype of the product, which, okay, using GPT 3.5, yes, we could come up with a better product. But then the underlying technology, the underlying code is going to be going to be the same. We're just going to swap out the model, saying that, okay, we built it with DaVinci 003 or whatever, text DaVinci 003, but then when we deploy it for the customers, we put GPT 3.5 Turbo. So, but then the underlying architecture, the underlying logic and all that, right? The framework, it's going to be built by us. Okay. So we don't have to worry too much about whether the LLM can actually give a very good quality response for this. We are okay, even if it gives an average response, it's okay. Because we know that when we increase the parameter size, right, when we go for LLMs with larger number of parameters, they definitely have emergent behavior, and they would definitely work with us.
Okay.
Because when in a corporate setting, definitely they're not going to use inferior LLM, but they would use something that is good enough to meet the business requirements, right?
Yeah. So
So
again,
here,
if you follow the interview flow, right? Typically, it starts with introduction and so on and so forth. The last time when we discussed the logical order, so we can say that for this kind of category, we need to look at A, B, C. We need to second kind of category, we need to see something else. For third kind of category, we can see. So will that prompting help the LLM to be more accurate? And just curious again.
you're asking from the point of view of how the interview will be structured by the LLM. in terms of generating those questions as per the
See,
structure.
for the interview flow will be like starting with the introduction and to the closure, right? In between, there are two or three areas like scenario-based testing, behavior-based testing, whatever it is. Okay. So let us say we will tell the LLM that this is the structure the LLM has to follow. Okay, that's where your prompting comes in, saying that it is the first phase, second phase, third phase, fourth phase of the interview. And then within each of these phases, let us say introduction, when a person is answering, these are the qualities that you need to look at and rate that answer as either good, average, or poor. For example, introduction, when person starts, he can talk from anywhere. Like last time we were talking, it can start, long ago they lived a king, to what I'm doing now, to what is more contextual, relevant to the current job, right? Somebody talks in that way. It will be rated as good versus, if I talk like, what happened in my childhood and where I am now, that's rated as poor. In between, anything is average. So
yeah, so I think Abhishek has given some points, like some of which will answer your question, right? Like one thing that he has mentioned is that is we would have to depending on the type, that is not precisely telling the LLM to treat introduction and core answers separately. Example, introductions might have more personal details compared to core answers. So depending on the interview phase, you can vary. That's what the different agents that are going to be built in Task 4 are going to do. So the agent that builds or comes up with the list of questions is going to look at interview phase, okay? And then this thing right here, that is going to be a metadata that will be given in addition to the list of questions, because that's a master data, all right? The logical order, that is what's the first phase, second phase, and so on, that has to be given. So the component that generates the question is going to use interview phase and this information in order to decide how the questions need to be ordered. And then so it is going to maintain that, let's say, just for simplicity's sake, let's say we maintain it in a data frame. Okay, once the questions are authored or generated by the LLM, those questions are, let's say, going to be put in a data frame, and it's going to have an identifier sequence, and then interview phase, and then the question. Okay, now sequence will tell 1, 2, 3, and so on. So it will order the questions in sequence, and interview phase will be available. So when it comes to the evaluation part, right, it is going to know what answers were collected. So when a candidate gives out the answer, so that's going to be stored in, let's say, the answer column of the data frame. So when doing the evaluation, we are going to parse each of the answers, definitely. Again, that's another question that Abhishek has asked. At the end of the interview, what are we going to give out to the candidate? Do we want to give out an evaluation for every answer, or do you want to give a summary? So what I suggest is we can do both. That is, when we evaluate each answer, we would get to know the ratings, or good, bad, right? All that for the specific answers themselves. And then we could also tell what is the overall state of the interview. That is, how did the candidate perform? So again, that could be done with the help of LLMs.
Yeah.
So both can be done. Abhishek, does it answer your question also? So this rubric, I think this can be an additional aspect which can be considered. I think at this point of time, for task 4 to start off, I think they need these 4 columns, right? Does everyone agree about that?
Yes, Pranay.
Yeah. Okay. What about all the task teams? Okay. Yeah. Steven says yes. Yes. Vamsi also yes. All right. All right. Now comes the other columns. Okay. Experience level. Again, this could be okay, right? It could be this, or it could be any other option that you would think of. Yes, Arthur, please go ahead.
I was thinking that perhaps the experience level could be configured on the stage when the job is described, as I mentioned on the previous meeting, when, for example, the initial prompt could be the description overall, or like the link of the position, like the offer, and from there it would basically take which experience level is required for that position. So it could structure the questions regarding that position.
Okay, you mean to say from the job description, that is, we want to give job description as an input to the bot, so that the bot can understand what kind of a job position the person is interviewing for. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, basically.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like just the position itself might already describe the level, as for example, the sales representative or the sales manager, it would kind of logically be one. Basically, the manager would be the one level above of salesman, sales representative, for example, and that would already suggest like the level gradation. I'm not sure if that would work the way I'm thinking, but
Okay. Okay, there are two aspects. I think what you said is an aspect from the point of view of the chatbot understanding what level, what experience, or is it an entry level role for which I need to generate questions, or is it a senior level for which I need to generate questions? So the bot needs to understand that. So that's something that's from the perspective of the bot. Now, what I have listed in here in this spreadsheet is from the perspective of the question and the answer pair. So if there is a different variation available for, let's say, customer service representative, for junior or entry level positions, the answer can be slightly different. Whereas for a senior, the answer should be slightly different. So if you have those variations, then that can be captured. So this experience level is going to tie to the answer that is there in the data collected. So is that answer pertaining to an entry level, a mid-level, senior level, or any other kind of categories you want to have? Okay, that is one aspect. The other aspect is what you said, that is the LLM should understand for what experience level should I generate the questions. So there is a slight, or there is a difference between this and what the bot needs to do.
Okay, I just that's the general way how it I thought it's going, but what I meant is that the position itself kind of already represents the level. Is for example, if it's a customer service representative, I think this is something like already suggests that it's kind of like an entry level position, or I might be wrong. I'm not entirely sure if that's a valid statement. So
okay, that's all right. That's okay. That's not a problem at all. So I think depending on no, I think you can look at the questions and decide like how the answers are. Do you see different kinds of answers? Do they seem to suggest that they indicate responses by different levels? Again, you could see if this customer service representative contains different hierarchies within. So if for that job position there are different hierarchies, right, at companies, then that's something we can consider. I think team 2 definitely has that, because when they collected the answers, they have entry level positions, they have mid level and senior level, right, Stephen? I think Stephen can add some inputs on based on the data that he has seen.
So I have concerns about we have a lot of let's just say the more entry level positions like questions where and the mid and the senior there's not a good spread of the questions. I mean it's like maybe like one question or two questions. It's really I mean it just we just don't have enough. I mean we could try to collect more specifically for let's just say there's certain titles that would be mid or senior level. So like for director, so you know we were only looking at sales manager and marketing manager, and so anybody with those titles wouldn't be mid or senior level. So that's another thing. So I mean, I think that I think we can have all the data for that. I just don't think that where we are in terms of team 2, I don't think we've collected the data yet.
Okay, okay. So I would suggest
Does that
let's yeah, I would suggest let's look at the data and decide if we have scope for adding this. Okay, if we feel the data is going to pertain to just a specific, let's say, team 1, if their data is going to pertain to only an entry level position, then let us set it to just entry level. Okay, and if in team 2 you see that you have a couple of different options, then and if you are able to differentiate them from the answers that are available, then you could add that experience level in there. Okay, so if it's not available right now, and if we do not see it, then we can get rid of this one. Okay, but I mean, what I mean to say is we could make it static and fixed for each team. That is, there would be one level for customer service representative. Let's say we are only dealing with entry level. For, let's say, team 2, we are dealing with, let's say, mid level, or however you think it is from the data that you collected. So if you have options available, please annotate each of the answers with the appropriate experience level to which it belongs to, if it is available. Is that?
I think my collected data about customer service have balance levels from entry, mid, senior.
Okay, okay, Ahmed. So you think it does contain a set of samples for different experience levels, right?
Yes.
Okay. If you have it, please annotate the answer with which level it belongs to. Okay.
I do this.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have no-
Okay, Ahmed. Thank you. That's good. If it's possible, let's do that. Then, Vamsi, 1 minute. Let me go back to the interview phase. There are some questions on chat about that. Okay, with regards to interview phase, there are a couple of folks who are asking, what are the different values that are possible there? Okay, again, this interview phase depends on the job position. So definitely, yes, there is going to be an introduction and there is going to be a conclusion. And you would have some behavioral questions asked, some scenario-based questions asked. But then if for the position, if you see something different, please feel free to add that. Okay, so that's why I have not said that interview phase should be having these 5 values or these 4 values, because we do not have that list. And Vamsi has prepared that for team 3 for all the roles. Perhaps Vamsi could share that with everybody, and that would give others an idea on how the interview phase is. And it can vary based on the job position. Okay. It is not going to be common for every job position. It can be different. And the LLM will adjust for that. Vamsi, you want to add some points? Because in chat you said you had some points.
So in fact, I kind of was resonating with Arthur's point when when we say customer service representative. What it means is it's one of the job roles, right? Meaning it's if it is a customer service manager, we would call it as a customer service manager, not representative. Customer service representative is just a role, one role in the customer service department, right? So maybe he is referring to that. So same way, when I compare the healthcare services, right? When I say nursing assistant, that's only single role. Maybe there is a slight difference between a person with 3-4 years experience versus person who is entering as a fresher. But other than that, the questions look very much same for me in those areas. An example of nursing.
Okay, questions are fine, but what about answers? Do you think the answer should be different? That is compared to a fresher
Definitely yes,
versus
definitely yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But again, let us put our since we all most of us come from software. Let us talk software language, right? If with a person with 5 years experience join as a junior software engineer and person as a fresher coming in, the interview structure will be same because the role is that, right? So when we say customer service representative, so that's what it means. Like nursing assistant means that's what it means. Unless we change that, nursing assistant maybe level 2, level 3, level 4, I don't know what levels they have, but if they have that will be slightly different. But yeah.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. So I think I think the answers that you're seeing in the data, do they conform to this particular viewpoint that you just mentioned?
So yeah, most of the questions and answers are very similar to my knowledge. I mean, I've not seen for last 3-4 days, so kind of I have to redo it again. Yes.
Oh, this is not just for you. I mean, everybody who has seen the answers, so anybody can pitch in an answer. So I don't want to put you on the spot, Vamsi. So it's
No,
okay.
that's okay. That's okay. Because I've seen the answers like 3-4 days back. See, for me, it looks very similar when I look at those answers, at least.
Okay. So you feel that this experience level is not really an important. This is not really relevant
unless we are addressing those positions also. Unless
Okay.
we, like Steve was saying that he has got very few questions for the senior levels, right? So unless we are addressing all those levels, the answers will definitely change. Questions can be same.
Yeah, again, the rubric is also going to change, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go with the data, right? I would say let us go with what we have in the data. If we have sufficient data, right, between let's say two positions, I mean two levels, then let us use that. If we do not have a differentiation, then let's not use this for that particular job position.
Yep.
Yeah, is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
And should it be consistent across all the 3 teams, Puneya, or some teams can have all
no,
levels,
it's okay. It can be different. That's what I feel, because LLM should be able to adjust to that.
Okay.
Basant and Arthur have a question. Basant, can you please go ahead? Then we'll come to Arthur.
Vamshi, you brought up a very good or important point that even though there are positions different or the senior level or entry level, the questions are same but answers are different. I'm not so much experienced with the other side of the table, but how do you say that this answer is given by a experienced person is good, or what are the factors you would like to see? Means answers can be the same, then what are the other factors we see in the answers to rate it as a good or bad?
Okay, let me give a software example again. Okay, when I interview a project manager versus a director, okay, what do I look in a director? Director is very senior level. Project manager, let us say it is at a mid-career, right? So mid-management. So when a project manager, when I ask a very simple question, introduce himself or herself, the kind of answer I get is, I mean, what I would expect is, what is the value he has added when as a project manager in his role, right? And first of all, what is the background? What background he or she comes from, and what is the value that he has added? What is the value that he can add to the current role as a project manager? That's how the answer comes out. Okay. Now the same question when we put it to a fresher, the fresher will say that I have completed my engineering or whatever, and says I have done so many projects from my campus and etc. I have done my internship and all these things, right? The same question when you ask a director, the way the director should answer ideally is the value that is delivered for the organization. He cannot say that I have led a team of 2,000 people, or I cannot say that I have the typical responses will be, as a director of so and so company, I have generated X amount of revenue and shown this amount of profitability, right? And he has to show that he is a leader in terms of how as a business developer and visionary. And fourth one is in terms of people management skills. How did he create career paths for those people, right? He or she, when I say he, right? All these things matter when a director is introducing himself. It cannot start saying that I've done my BTech MCA. It doesn't matter for me.
Yeah,
These are the
this
differences.
brings me, I understood. This brings me another aspect or another dimension to most of the answers is that since we are rating it as a good, average, or poor, and I think it was, I don't remember his name, the team two, who is that?
Steven has to drop off,
Steven.
so he's not on the
Yeah,
call right now.
okay. The Steven said that he has no much questions for the higher roles. Probably it is because the higher roles may have the
Sorry
similar
to
structure.
interrupt you, Basant.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are almost on the clock here. What do you think? Should we extend this meeting? Then we'll have to disconnect and join again. Or do you want to take it at a later point of time? What does everybody think?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to drop off now. Okay, I've got
Okay.
another work to complete. So, we can take it up again tomorrow morning or evening, whenever is possible.
Okay, because I think we have 20 people on the call, so they have made the time to join this. So I think it's good that we respect that and we take it another day, right? Yeah.
I
no
also
problem.
think some people had a problem with connecting to the call due to some cyclone happening in India, the
Yeah.
people Group 1 mentioned. So
Yeah.
perhaps we might have another meeting another day as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a valid point. So, sorry, Vasant, I cut you off in the middle. So
No problem.
yeah.
It's fine.
All right. So for now, I think we have discussed the basic things that need to be there. All right. So then I think the rubric can be worked upon because that's going to be needed for the evaluation, not for preparing the question. So we can still discuss and finalize how that needs to be. Okay. Again, that's not going to be collected from somewhere. I think that's going to be given by reviewing the answers and by discussing with the domain experts. All right. So we'll continue this on another day. We'll discuss on Slack and we would decide the time and we'll set it up. Thank you everyone for your inputs and your questions. So I think we can close the call now unless anybody has anything else to say.
Hey, thanks a lot. Good night.
Yeah.